Last class I had told that first I will be giving test, right? With the symbols of elements, to write the symbols of elements as well as to write the names of elements. I had also told you should know the definition of elements, compounds, atoms and molecules. So first you will have test. Okay, copy down the questions. Okay, pause the video and write the answers. Okay, without seeing. I hope you all are prepared. Okay, I kept on saying you again and again that you should know the symbols of elements. And even you should know the elements and compounds. This is basic part. Okay, if you don't know this, you cannot learn further. I had told, I hope you people are prepared. If you are not prepared, okay, you first prepare for half an hour. Okay, then you write the test. I hope you understood. First copy the questions, pause the video and then write the answers. I hope you understood. Okay, then I will discuss the answers with you. Pause the video and write the answers. Okay, I hope you people have written the test. Okay, now I will give you the answers. Chlorine, what is the symbol for chlorine? Capital CCl, isn't it? The symbol for chlorine is Cl. Sulfur, S, capital S. Magnesium, Mg. I hope you people are have written correctly. Iron, it's not I, it is Fe, isn't it? The symbol for iron is Fe. Copper, Cu, isn't it? Zinc, Zn. Potassium, it is not P. P means phosphorus. Potassium is capital K, right? And mercury, it's not M, it is Hg, right? Okay, so the symbol for chlorine is Cl, sulfur S, magnesium Mg, iron Fe, copper Cu, zinc Zn, potassium K, mercury Hg. If you have written wrongly, one or two means write all the symbols of elements twice. Okay, if all are wrong, you write 5 times, then you will learn it. Write the names of the elements. Carbon, C, capital C means carbon. Ca, I think you know the difference. Only C, capital C means carbon. Okay, Ca means calcium. Na, sodium. Sn, tin. Mn, manganese. Ar, argon. Br, bromine. Ag, silver, right? So what are elements? Give examples. Okay, again, I will not write it, but I'll just tell. What are elements? Elements are substances which are made up of same kinds of atoms, isn't it? Example, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, bromine, or metals like sodium, potassium, gold, etc., silver. They all are examples of elements. Now, what are compounds? Give examples. What are compounds? Compounds, they are the substances. Compounds, they are the substances which are made up of different kinds of atoms, isn't it? What are compounds? Compounds are the substances which are made up of different kinds of atoms. Examples like water, carbon dioxide, then ammonia, methane, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide are all examples of compounds. What are atoms? Atoms, they are the smallest particle of an element, isn't it? What are atoms? Atoms, they are the smallest particle of an element. Okay. What are molecules? Molecules, the smallest particle of an element or compound, okay, which do not have independent existence. Which have independent existence. Once again I'll repeat. What are molecules? Molecules, they are smallest particle of an element or compound okay, which have independent existence. Okay, this is what is about. So I hope you people have written correctly. Okay, if you have not written correctly, okay, if it is one or two wrong are there, then which one you have written wrongly, that one you write it 5 times. I hope you understood. In 8, 6 are correct, 2 are wrong. Suppose if it is, which one is wrong, that one you write down 5 times. Okay, suppose all are wrong, means learn it once again. Okay, write if you, that means you're finding it difficult. Okay, write 2 times. Okay, then without seeing you write. I hope you understood. If you have out of 8, if 6 are correct, which one is wrong, which one you have written wrong, that one you write down 5 times. Okay, suppose all are wrong, or the 3 are wrong, 4 are wrong, like that means you write down all is not just 8, or whatever symbols of elements are given, okay, write them 2 times. Okay, then again you write down without seeing. Copy down the questions and then write without seeing. This also like that only. Did you people understand this? If 2 are wrong like that, which one is wrong, that one you write. Okay, if from this one, if all are wrong, means it is understood that you don't know. So you will write, no, I told you that, okay, write down them, all the symbols of elements twice without seeing. Okay, then I hope at least this one you children will write correctly. If you have not written this also correctly, okay, learn it, write each one 5 times. Hope you people understood. If you have written this one wrongly, okay, then what each answer you write down 5 times. Yes. Now, we people last time when we started the class, we had discussed. Okay, you find many objects in the classroom, isn't it? Like for example, chalk, duster, table, desk, benches, etc. What are they? Globe, etc. What are they examples of? They're examples of, yes, they're examples of matter, isn't it? They all are examples of matter. Okay, there are even other examples of matter. We also discussed them. For example, air, water, food, isn't it? Air, water, food, planets, stars, plants and animals, stones, etc. Okay. They all are examples of matter, isn't it? Air, water, food, planets, stars, plants and animals, stones, etc. They all are examples of matter. So whatever objects you find around us are all examples of matter. And how do you define matter? Matter is anything that occupies space and has mass is called as matter. Okay, what is matter? Matter is anything that occupies space and has mass. Okay, anything that occupies space. People have studied in maths. What is the space? What is that space occupied by an object called as? What is space occupied by an object called as? Volume, isn't it? So anything that has both occupies space means volume. Anything that has both volume and mass is called as matter. Okay, anything that has both volume and mass is called as matter. I hope you people understood. So today's listeners, we are going to discuss matter in our surroundings. Okay. Today, the name of the lesson is matter in our surroundings. I hope you people understood now. Okay, as you people know, I hope now you all have got your textbooks. If you have your textbooks, if you feel convenient, then you whatever, see, these points are simple. Okay, you will, you know them. Okay, which is not there in the textbook. Okay, I will tell that. Okay, you should take down in, if not, you can take down in textbook only, in pencil. In pencil. Okay, where space will be there, no? Okay, you can take down in pencil. Suppose you don't want to write in your textbook, you don't feel convenient, that means you can keep another notebook separately for chemistry, not new one, old one only, old any rough note only. Okay, you can keep, you can write the whatever the points I tell, no, this is not there in your textbook to write, you can write that in that notebook also. It is left to you. I hope you people are understanding. See, like last year, you are writing, okay, you can, whatever points which are not there in your textbook, okay, I will tell you people to, I am telling you people to write it in your textbook, in pencil. Okay, and suppose you don't want to write it in your textbook, you can also keep a separate rough note for chemistry only. Okay, and you can write it in that. Okay, if you want, you can write everything, whatever I am writing on the board, you can write, copy down everything like running notes. Okay, but which one is not there, you should take down, I will tell, no, that one, that should be there in your textbook or in your rough note, because from that also it will be asked for the test. Okay, this is general. So if you want, you can write down, but it's better if you write down, because if you write down, it will be easy when you are reading, isn't it, for the test. Now next, see, Indian philosophers have classified matter into 5 basic elements called as Panchatattva. Indian philosophers have classified matter, okay, into 5 basic elements, okay, called as Panchatattva. What are these 5 basic elements? Okay, they are nothing but air, water, earth, sky, and fire. Okay. What are these 5 elements? They are air, water, earth, sky, and fire. Did you people understand this? Once again, I repeat. Indian philosophers have classified matter into 5 basic elements called as Panchatattva. Okay, what are these 5 basic elements? Air, water, earth, sky and fire. Now, better you people copy down whatever I write on the board so that it will be useful. States of matter. Okay. Which are the 3 states of matter? Actually, there are 5 states of matter. Please study the other 2 later. But right now, you people know 3 states of matter. They are solids, liquids, and gases. Right? Okay, they are solids, liquids, and gases. Can you give me examples of solids like chair, chalk, ice, etc. are all examples of solids. Liquids, what are examples? Can you tell me? Water, petrol, acetone, etc. are all examples of liquids. Other examples like kerosene. Okay, there is also an example of juice. There are also examples of liquids. Gases like hydrogen, nitrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, water vapor, etc. are all examples of gases, isn't it? Copy down this in your arsenal. Okay, states of matter. Solids examples are chair, chalk, ice, etc. Liquids, water, petrol, acetone, etc. Gases, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, water vapor. Okay, I'll write down like this. Which one I write like this? No? Important. Okay, that one you write it in your textbook or in your note. I hope you understood. Which one I'll put this important? I'll put this sign, no? Symbol, no? Sign, no? That one you write down. See, but modern scientists have classified matter based on their physical and chemical properties. Okay, modern scientists have classified matter based on their physical and chemical properties. In today's class we will discuss about physical nature of matter. Today we will be discussing about the physical nature of matter. Okay, last class we people have discussed what is matter made up of. Matter is made up of particles. Write down this. Matter is made up of particles. Isn't it? What do you mean by these particles? What are these particles? These particles may be atoms or molecules. Okay, these particles are nothing but atoms or molecules. I hope you people are understanding. This one we discussed, isn't it? Matter is made up of particles, isn't it? Okay, what are these particles? These particles are nothing but atoms or molecules. Now, my question is, this point you take down. Now, my question is, take water in a beaker. Take water in a beaker, okay, and add small amount of salt to it. Okay, take water in a beaker and add small amount of salt to it. Okay, so the salt dissolves in water to get salt solution, isn't it? Now, my question is there any rise in level of water? Is there any rise in level of water? I hope you people understood my question. What you are going to do is, you are going to take water in a beaker, okay, and add small amount of salt to it. Salt dissolves in water to give salt solution. But is there any rise in the level of water? Can you think? Think for a while by the time I draw the diagram. Draw this diagram in your rough note. Is there any rise in level of water? See, these are the particles of salt. Okay, these are particles of water. This is particles of salt solution. Okay, particles of salt. These are particles of salt. These are particles of water. Okay, now, when you dissolve salt in water, listen carefully. When you dissolve salt in water, okay, the particles of salt break apart. Okay, the particles of salt break apart and occupy the space between the particles of water. Did you understand this? The particles of, as soon as you dissolve salt in water, the particles of salt break apart and occupy the space between the particles of water. Okay, so this is salt solution. Can you see? The particles of salt have occupied the space between the particles of water. Did people understand this? Once again, I will repeat. Okay, when you dissolve salt in water, you obtain salt solution. Question is there any rise in level of water? Okay, for that, you should know when you dissolve salt in water, the particles of salt, they break apart, okay, and occupy the space between the particles of water. Okay, can you see? The particles of salt have occupied the space between the particles of water. Isn't it? So, is there a rise in level of water? No. There is no rise in level of water. Did people understand this? Okay, so once again, okay, when you dissolve salt in water, the particles of salt they break apart and occupy the space between the particles of water. Can you see? The particles of salt have occupied the space between the particles of water in salt solution. So this is salt, this is water. Please draw this diagram and you write down. There is another experiment. This diagram is there in your textbook. What do you understand from this diagram? Can you think? What do you understand from this diagram? See, what is done is, you have taken, first you take water in 100 ml of water in a beaker. Okay, you will take 100 ml of water in a beaker. Then you are going to add 2 or 3 crystals of potassium permanganate into it. Okay, you are going to add 2 to 3 crystals of potassium permanganate to it. So this potassium permanganate will now dissolve in water to give a pink colored solution of potassium permanganate. Okay, so this beaker, we call it as this beaker which contains potassium permanganate solution, we call as beaker A. Do people understand? Now, what you are going to do is, you are going to take 10 ml of potassium permanganate solution from beaker A, okay, and add it to 90 ml of water, 90 ml of water, okay, in beaker B. You are going to, okay, what you are going to do, you are going to take out 10 ml of potassium permanganate solution from beaker A, okay, and add it to 90 ml of water. Did you people understand? Again, what you are going to do is you are going to take 10 ml of potassium permanganate solution from beaker B and add it to 90 ml of water in beaker C. Okay. Again, repeat the same process. Remove 10 ml of potassium permanganate solution from beaker C, okay, and add it to 90 ml of water in beaker D. I hope you people understood. Once again, I will repeat. You take 100 ml of water in a beaker and add 2 to 3 crystals of potassium permanganate crystals to it. Okay. You are going to take 100 ml of water in a beaker and going to add 2 to 3 crystals of potassium permanganate crystals to it. So you get pink colored solution of potassium permanganate solution, isn't it? We consider this as beaker A. Now what you are going to do? You are going to remove 10 ml of potassium permanganate solution from beaker A and add it to 90 ml of water in beaker B. Then again you are going to remove 10 ml of potassium permanganate solution from beaker B and add it to 90 ml of water in beaker C. Again you are going to remove 10 ml of potassium permanganate solution from beaker C and add it to 90 ml of water in beaker B. Did you get it? So now what are you, can you see the color? Is the color the same? I mean, is the darkness, is the darkness the same? No. What you can find, what you can see, as you're diluting with more and more water, every time you're diluting with water, isn't it? Every time, okay, you're diluting with 90 ml of water. Okay. As you're diluting with water, okay, what is happening? The color is becoming lighter and lighter from beaker A to beaker B. Isn't it? But still, the color or pink color remains in beaker B. Isn't it? Still, the pink color is visible in beaker B. What do you understand from this experiment? I hope you people understood what I told. You are diluting with water. Okay. As you are diluting with water, okay, what is happening? The solution is becoming lighter and lighter from beaker A to beaker D. Now you can see your textbook also. Okay. Though the color is becoming lighter and lighter, but still you are able to see the pink color, okay, in beaker D. So what do you understand from this? A single crystal of potassium permanganate can color a large volume of water, isn't it? A single crystal of potassium permanganate can give color to a large volume of water. Did you people understand this? Did you people understand? Single crystal of potassium permanganate can give color to large volume of water. Okay, from this, what do you conclude? This small crystal of potassium permanganate contains millions of tiny particles. Okay, a single crystal of potassium permanganate contains millions of tiny particles. Did you people understand this experiment? Once again, okay, though you are diluting with water again and again, okay, but still, as you are diluting it with water, okay, what is happening? The color is becoming lighter and lighter from beaker A to beaker B. Okay, but still the pink color is visible in beaker B, isn't it? Okay, from this you come to know that a single crystal of potassium permanganate can give color to a large volume of water. Okay, so you can come to a conclusion that single crystal of potassium permanganate, it contains millions of tiny particles. Did you people understand this? And therefore, and how are these tiny particles? How are these particles? They are tiny. They are very small, isn't it? They are small beyond our imagination. Okay, these particles, they are smaller beyond our imagination. Can we see them through our naked eyes? No, you cannot see these particles through our naked eyes. You can see them only through powerful microscope. So the particles of matter are very small beyond our imagination, and we can see them only through the microscope. Now next, coming to characteristics of particles of matter. Characteristics of particles of matter. This one. What is the color of copper sulfate? What is the color of copper sulfate? We have discussed last year, right? What is the color of copper sulfate? It is blue in color, isn't it? Color of copper sulfate is blue in color. What you are going to do is, you are going to take water in a beaker and add 1 or 2 crystals of copper sulfate to it. Okay, you obtain blue colored solution of copper sulfate. So again the same concept. copper sulfate, water, copper sulfate solution. Copper, okay. What you are going to do? You are going to add 1 or 2 crystals of copper sulfate in a beaker containing water. Okay. So this copper sulfate dissolves in water to give a blue colored solution of copper sulfate. But what is the concept behind this? Okay. As we discussed with respect to salt, okay, the particles of, as soon as you dissolve, as soon as you add copper sulfate crystal to water, okay, the particles of copper sulfate, they break apart, okay, and occupy the space between the particles of water, which you can see here. Did you people understand this? So, as soon as you add copper sulfate to water, what happens? The particles of copper sulfate, they break apart and occupy the space between the particles of water, which you can see. The particles of copper sulfate have occupied the space between the particles of water. Did you people understand? From this, what do you understand? What do you understand from this? The particles of matter have space between them. The particles of matter have space between them. Okay. This is the first characteristic of particles of matter. Okay. The particles of matter, they have space between them. Did you people understand this? This is the first characteristic. Now, second characteristics will be second characteristic would be, see, we'll come to the second characteristic. Before that, if you spray, this part is very important, listen to this carefully. If you spray perfume, okay, at one end of the room, you get its fragrance at the other end of the room, isn't it? You people know that when you spray perfume, okay, at one end of the room, okay, you get its fragrance at the other end of the room. Why? Can you tell me? Again, same concept which we discussed. Can you tell me? Can you tell me now? See here. What are this is perfume. Okay, perfume. You people know in gaseous form, isn't it? This perfume in a gaseous form. This is air. Can you see here what will happen? The particles of perfume, okay, in gaseous form will occupy the space between the particles of air, which you can see here. The particles of perfume have occupied the space between the particles of air. Isn't it? Did you people understand this? That means what here? The particles of perfume in gaseous form has intermixed. Okay, the particles of perfume in gaseous form has intermixed with the particles of air. Can you see? The particles of perfume, okay, in gaseous form have intermixed with the particles of air. Did you people understand this? This process is called as diffusion. What is this process called as? This process is called as diffusion. Once again, I'll repeat here. The particles of perfume in gaseous form will occupy the space between the particles of air. Can you see? The particles of perfume, okay, have occupied the space between the particles of air. Isn't it? That means the particles of perfume in gaseous form has the particles of perfume in gaseous form will intermix with the particles of air. Can you see? The particles of perfume, okay, have intermixed with the particles of air. Okay, this process is called as diffusion. Okay, how do you define diffusion then? How will you define diffusion? The particles of one matter intermixes with the particles of another matter. Okay. This process is called as diffusion. This process is called as diffusion. The particles of, write down this. You copy down this. This is your rough note. The particles of one matter intermixes with the particles of another matter. This process is called as diffusion. Did you people understand this? The particles of one matter intermixes with the particles of another matter. This process is called as diffusion. Did you people understand this? So the earlier examples what we took, okay, salt dissolving in water is an example of diffusion again. Okay, and you dissolve copper sulfate crystals in water, which is also an example of diffusion. You dissolve potassium permanganate in water, which is also an example of diffusion. Do people understand this? Now, I hope you people understood. So what is our second characteristic? Can you tell me? The particles of matter are continuously moving. Particles of matter are continuously moving. Isn't it? The particles of matter are continuously moving. I hope you understood this. This is very important, children. Diffusion, you should know. So how, if anyone asks what is diffusion, what will you say? The particles of one matter intermixes with the particles of another matter. This process is called as diffusion. Okay, you write down the definition and you copy down this diagram so that it will be helpful when you are reading. Okay, now next you should understand the term. See, I hope you all understood this. I don't know whether you people have heard of this term, kinetic energy. Have you heard of this term, kinetic energy? See here. See here, flowing water, okay, moving ball or moving car, we tell they have kinetic energy. Flowing water, moving ball, moving car, etc. have kinetic energy. That means, how do you define kinetic energy? How do you define kinetic energy? Can you see? Flowing water, moving ball, moving car, etc. have kinetic energy. So what is kinetic energy then? Energy possessed by a moving body. Okay, energy possessed by a moving body is called as kinetic energy. Is called as kinetic energy. Energy possessed by a moving body. Any body which is moving will have kinetic energy. Any body which is moving will have kinetic energy. Do people understand this? I hope you people are understanding. Flowing water, moving ball, moving car, etc. have kinetic energy. That means what? Any body which is moving will have kinetic energy. Okay, a marble, suppose a marble is moving. Okay, then a marble will have kinetic energy. Okay, if you drop a stone, that stone which is falling down will have kinetic energy. Do you people understand this? So what is kinetic energy? Energy possessed by a moving body is called as kinetic energy. I hope you people understood this. So any moving body will have kinetic energy. And what was there now? We come back to the characteristics of particles of matter. What is our second characteristic? The particles of matter are continuously moving. The particles of matter are continuously moving. The particles of matter are continuously moving means they have kinetic energy. Do people understand this? The particles of matter. Second characteristic, the particles of matter are continuously moving. Since the particles are moving, they possess kinetic energy. They have kinetic energy. Did you people understand this? Since the particles are always moving, they have kinetic energy. Did you people understand this? Since the particles are moving, they have kinetic energy. They possess kinetic energy. Now, what we are going to do is, this is beaker A, this is beaker B. What we are going to do is, we are going to add a crystal of copper sulfate in cold water in beaker A. Okay, whereas you are going to add a crystal of copper sulfate in hot water in beaker B. Are you understanding? You are going to add a crystal of copper sulfate, okay, into cold water in beaker A. You are going to again add a crystal of copper sulfate, okay, in hot water in beaker B. Okay, now whether the copper, in which the copper sulfate dissolves faster. Will the copper sulfate dissolves faster in cold water, or will the copper sulfate dissolves faster in hot water? Yes, the copper sulfate dissolves faster in hot water. The copper sulfate will dissolve faster in hot water. But why? Because cold water means temperature is low. Hot water means temperature is high. This is very important concept. Listen here. Cold water means temperature is low. Hot water means comparatively the temperature is high. Okay. As the temperature increases, the kinetic energy, Ke means kinetic energy. Kinetic energy of the particles also increases. I hope you people are understanding. As the temperature increases, the kinetic energy of the particles increases. Okay. As the kinetic energy of the particles increases, the particles start to move faster. Are you people understanding? Listen here, as the temperature increases, the kinetic energy of the particles also increases. Okay, the kinetic energy of the particles increases. Okay, as the kinetic energy of the particles increases, okay, the particles start to move faster. Okay, that means what? The particles of copper sulfate will occupy the space between the particles of water faster. Are you understanding? That's what it means. Okay, the particles start to move faster means the particles of copper sulfate will occupy the space between the particles of water faster. Therefore, the diffusion is faster. Did you people understand this? So, as the temperature increases, the kinetic energy of the particles increases and the particles, they start to move faster. So, the particles start to move faster means the particles of copper sulfate will occupy the space between the particles of water faster. Therefore, the diffusion is also faster. Did you people understand this? Now, listen to this carefully. That means as the temperature increases, diffusion also increases. As the temperature increases, listen carefully, as the temperature increases, diffusion increases. As the temperature increases, diffusion increases. Suppose the temperature, shall I write down here? This is very important. Question will come on this. This is not there in your textbook. So I forgot to tell you. Okay, write down these points. Whichever points I am telling you, you write down this. You should write down this. Diffusion as the temperature increases, diffusion increases. Okay, if the temperature decreases, okay, diffusion also decreases. Did you people understand this? Okay, if the temperature increases, diffusion also increases. If temperature decreases, diffusion also decreases. Therefore, we tell that diffusion is directly proportional to temperature. This is very important. This is not there in your textbook. Write down this. Diffusion is directly proportional to temperature. This symbol means directly proportional, isn't it? Directly proportional. Diffusion is directly proportional to temperature. Okay, that means what? The diffusion is directly proportional to temperature. Means if temperature increases, diffusion increases. Okay, if temperature decreases, diffusion decreases. Therefore, we tell diffusion is directly proportional to temperature. Okay, diffusion, the sign, if it is there, it is directly proportional to temperature. Did you people understand this? To understand this, we take up other example. See, you have to write down what was I had written here. As the temperature increases, kinetic energy increases and the particles, they start to move faster. Isn't it? Therefore, the diffusion also is faster. Did you people understand this? Now, we take up other example to understand it. This is not related to, see, people have studied density earlier. What is density? What is density? It is nothing but mass by volume. Density is nothing but equal to mass by volume. Listen here. As the mass increases, density increases. Okay, if mass decreases, density also decreases. Density is nothing but equal to mass by volume. Density is defined as mass per unit volume. The people have studied earlier, I think, I don't remember whether people have studied or not. I don't know. Density, it is a measure of heaviness or lightness of an object. We discussed that in next class. Density is equal to mass by volume. If the mass of the object increases, its density also increases. If its mass decreases, density also decreases. Therefore, we tell density is directly proportional to mass. Did you people understand this? Okay. Similarly, but with respect to volume, if volume increases, okay, but if volume increases, density decreases, opposite. If the volume increases, density decreases. Okay, and if volume decreases, density increases, opposite with respect to volume. If volume increases, density decreases. If volume decreases, density increases. Okay, so it is opposite, isn't it? Therefore, shall write down here. Density is inversely proportional to volume meter. Okay, density is inversely proportional. Density, if we write like the inversely proportional means we write like this. 1 by volume. Okay, density is inversely proportional to volume. Did you people understand this? And if density, it is directly proportional to mass, whereas density is inversely proportional to volume. Inversely proportional. Inversely proportional to volume. Density is inversely proportional to volume. Did you people understand this? See, directly proportional means if one increases, directly proportional means if one increases, the other also increases. If one decreases, the other also decreases. Then we use directly proportional. Inversely proportional means if one increases, the other decreases. If one decreases, the other increases. Okay, then we tell inversely proportional. Did you people understand this? Hope you people understood. So this you need not copy it. To understand, I told it. Okay, but this one you should know. Diffusion is directly proportional to temperature. That means if temperature increases, diffusion increases. If temperature decreases, diffusion decreases. So this one you copy now. I hope you understood. So I hope you people came to know directly proportional and inversely proportional. I hope you people understood about diffusion. Next. Okay. Third characteristic. These are the two molecules. These are the two molecules. What holds the two molecules together? What holds the two molecules together? It is the intermolecular. This one you people have studied earlier. Intermolecular force of attraction. Intermolecular force of attraction between the two molecules that holds the two molecules together. Okay. There is some force that holds the two molecules together, and that force we call as intermolecular force of attraction. Are you people understanding? See, there is some force acting between the two molecules which holds the two molecules together. There is some force, okay, between the two molecules that holds the two molecules together. And this force that holds the two molecules together is called as intermolecular force of attraction. Okay, now third will be particles of matter. Particles of matter attract each other. Okay, as I told you, these are the two particles. Okay, the particles, the particles of molecules, sorry, the particles of matter, they attract each other. That means there is intermolecular force of attraction acting between the two molecules. Take for example now, take an iron nail, okay, and hammer it. Okay, when you hammer, will the iron nail break? No. Okay, the iron nail will not break. Why the iron nail will not break? Because of the strong intermolecular force of attraction between the particles of iron nail. Okay, since there is strong intermolecular force of attraction, since there is strong intermolecular force of attraction between the particles of iron nail, the iron nail will not break. Did you people understand this? Since there is strong intermolecular force of attraction between the particles of iron nail, the iron nail will not break. Did you people understand this? Okay, whereas if you take water, okay, if you take water in a bucket, okay, you can easily cut through water, isn't it? That is, your water will easily pass through the water, isn't it? Why a hand will easily pass through the water? You can easily cut through the water. That means water, your hand will easily move inside the water. Okay, why? Because of weaker intermolecular force of attraction between the particles. Okay. There is air in this room. Okay, I can easily wave my hand. I can easily move my hand. Isn't it? Why am I able to move? Because of the weakest intermolecular force of attraction between the particles of air. Okay, there is weakest, since there is weakest intermolecular force of attraction between the particles of air, or the intermolecular force of attraction is least in between the particles of air. Okay, so I can easily move my hand in air. Did you people understand this? Okay, why, though you hammer on iron nail, the iron nail will not break because of strong intermolecular force of attraction between the particles of iron nail. Okay, then you can easily cut through water. You can easily cut through water. That means if you take water in a bucket, okay, you can your hand easily, it goes inside the water. You can easily cut through the water. Why? Because of weaker intermolecular force of attraction between the particles of water. Okay, I can easily, there is air, okay, I can easily move my hand in the air. Why? Because of the weakest intermolecular force of attraction between the particles of air. That means the intermolecular force of attraction is least in between the particles of air. Therefore, you can move your hand in the air easily. So, particles of matter attract each other. Which are the three characteristics of particles of matter? Particles of matter, they have space between them. Second one, particles of matter are continuously moving. Third one, particles of matter attract each other. This is what is for today. Next class we will be discussing about properties of solids, liquids and gases. Thank you.